I, 40-year-old, planned for a me weekend whenever 1, I had enough money, and 2, completed my career goal related to finding investment for my company. I completed both goals this year and decided that relocating back to my hometown was best for me. I can run my company from anywhere as long as I have an internet connection and focused on the moving logistics. Part of my closure was to give myself a road trip back home. I'm not into partying, I'm not really into buying things, so I thought I could create my own journey back after 16 years of struggling. Also, my old friends have either left town or live back in my home state. I left some very cordial relationships, but the friends that I thought were real friends didn't step up. I didn't take it personally and decided to only focus on the positive experiences. One of my acquaintances has a backyard concert at her country home. She said whoever wanted to spend the night glamping on her back porch was welcome as long as we gave notice. Of course, a contribution was expected, which I paid both in money as some potluck food. I really looked forward to it and loved her setting. She has a full bathroom near her pool that we were free to use, and the idea of camping in a very controlled environment made me feel very safe and confident. I bought a tent and everything needed to enjoy a peaceful night. The concert ended at 4 p.m. I even bought myself some food and made sure that my tent was way separated from anyone else because I wanted privacy. My plan was to be out before 6 a.m. There were about 6 others whom I know sharing the porch. Kathy, 43-year-old, was there and we were very cordial. She used to be someone I called a friend, but I distanced myself after she talked bad behind my back for not doing her a specific favor. We used to be very close, so when I read messages she sent to other people, I was both astonished and dumbfounded. I don't want to be too specific, but I did help her even with money, not large amounts, just hundreds, thankfully. When this happened, I tried to get past it, but rationalizing that she was hurt because many people had cut her off and because she had low self-esteem. Eventually, she became more and more aggressive in her actions to make me feel like what she did was my fault. The last straw happened after I had a very good career milestone and I was made a part of an announcement. Some friends that I really counted on never congratulated me, not even after I enthusiastically shared the link. These were the same friends who always shared everything with me, and I helped them celebrate. No problem, I cut them off. Kathy did send me a note that was absolutely weird. She said, "Great! Wow! I never thought you would make it, considering that you have been usually ignored and not taken seriously." I shouldn't have reacted as this happened after I cut her off, but I did call her so that she clarified, and she said something about me overestimating my achievement. It's been a long time. I've seen her in chance encounters, but I eventually changed my number and never again reached back. We were cordial at our friend's house, but I wasn't expecting to rekindle the friendship. We did share some pasta at the picnic tables, but that was it. She started complaining about being too tired, but I didn't read too much into it. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, her daughter, late teens, complimented the inside of my tent, which I made as cozy as possible. I noticed they were talking and wouldn't leave. I said goodbye and headed to the inside of my tent when she said her daughter would love to spend the night in my space. I declined, but she insisted and basically asked for a reason. I said a sleeping space is a very personal thing and that I wasn't comfortable. She took a hard look inside and said that I had enough space, but I said no and quickly rushed in and locked my tent. They spent a few minutes calling me, but another guest got irritated and asked them to keep it quiet. It took me a few hours to calm down because I was angry. I put my tent and stuff back in my car and went for a shower. When I got back, Kathy was standing next to my car. She looked like she had been crying and told me that her life was a mess and that the few hours that we had spent talking was the happiest she's felt in a long time. It felt very awkward, so I just drove off. I was so annoyed and so disturbed that I visited her social media and felt worse when I read multiple people posting advice against self-harm. She tried to connect with me again by adding me, but it's been years, and I don't want her in my life. Am I the idiot? Honestly, I feel awful. Edit to clarify that I did spend the night and Kathy approached me in the morning. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'd say, not the idiot. From what you've said, you acted cordially, and I agree, sleeping spaces are personal, and you don't have to share them with other people if you don't want to. Moreover, you don't have to be friends with someone if you don't want to, especially if they've burned you in the past. It's not your fault her life is the way it is now, and so long as you're not actively making it worse, you hold no responsibility towards her. Comment 2, not the idiot. You no longer know this woman. Why would you invite her drama into your life? And what sense did it make to ask you to put her teen in your tent overnight? That was one giant red flag. Stay away from her. Prepare yourself for your other friends, suddenly showing up and acting like they were always there for you. Be cordial, but keep your distance. Congratulations on all your achievements. Comment 3. Not the idiot. It sounds like Kathy likes to manipulate people. Don't fall for it. That things with her daughter sleeping with you sounds weird, and like she was going to probably guilt you into giving them money or resources. I would question all her motives, and that isn't a friendship you should have. Now, for the update. It's been a month since I got back to my hometown, and it's been a whirlwind. The glamping experience, which I hoped would be a chance to relax and reconnect, turned into an emotional maelstrom that I wasn't prepared for. My interactions with Kathy at the glamping site had left me uneasy, and her subsequent posts on social media only deepened my concern. I hadn't wanted Kathy back in my life, but the thought of her potentially harming herself rattled me. After all, despite our falling out, we had many years of shared history. I decided to reach out to a mutual friend, Janet, to see if she knew what was going on. I discovered that Kathy had been spiraling for a while now. She'd been let go from her job and was struggling financially. She'd also lost her mom to a long-term illness, which was a blow she hadn't been able to recover from. It seemed that me coming back to town, the semblance of a past life, had triggered something in her. I felt a profound sense of sadness and guilt. Here I was, reveling in a newfound sense of achievement and freedom, while Kathy was drowning in despair. I decided to set up a meeting with a professional counselor to discuss Kathy's situation. An intervention was organized, and Kathy reluctantly agreed to attend. The intervention was a disaster. Kathy was defensive, lashing out at everyone. She accused us all of being judgmental and unsupportive. It was a painful scene, watching someone I once held dear descend into such a state of hopelessness. The counselor advised us to give Kathy some space while she processed everything. I felt helpless, racked with guilt about leaving her in this state, but I also knew I couldn't drag her out of this darkness. Kathy needed to want to help herself. In the meantime, my own life seemed to be unraveling. The career transition was more challenging than I'd anticipated. The job market in my hometown wasn't as robust as I'd remembered, and the prospect of unemployment was a bitter pill to swallow. I started doubting my decision to move back. My relationships with my friends remained largely superficial, and I felt isolated in my own struggles. The excitement of returning to my roots was replaced with regret and loneliness. I found myself thinking about Kathy often, wondering if I'd done enough. Yet I felt torn between wanting to help her and wanting to protect myself. I have my own demons to fight after all. I guess life isn't as straightforward as we'd like it to be. Sometimes the me weekends don't quite turn out the way we plan. Now for the comments. 1. Not the idiot. It sounds like you were genuinely concerned for Kathy and were trying to help her through a difficult time, even though your own life was far from perfect. It's natural to feel guilty when an intervention doesn't go as planned, but remember that ultimately, Kathy is responsible for her own actions and reactions. You had good intentions, but you can't control how she responds. 2. You're the idiot. I understand that you had good intentions, but arranging an intervention for someone who's clearly going through a tough time without their consent, or even hinting at it, could be seen as intrusive. It might have been better if you had suggested professional help or resources for her to consider on her own terms. 3. Everyone sucks here. While your intentions were good, intervening in Kathy's life in this manner might not have been the best approach. At the same time, Kathy's reaction, while understandable, seems to have been overly defensive and accusatory, which makes the situation more difficult for everyone involved. Everyone is going through their own struggles, and it's important to remember to approach each other with understanding and respect. Now, for the next story. I'm the sole income earner in our household and also pursuing a master's degree. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. Whenever our kids get sick, which seems inevitable, especially when seasons change, I take precautions like wearing a mask to avoid falling ill myself. My rationale is that if I get sick, the entire family dynamic is disrupted since I have work and school commitments. However, my wife refuses to wear a mask or take any similar precautions. Consequently, she often falls ill, requiring me to take on additional responsibilities to care for her and our sick kids. While she expects sympathy from me, I find it hard to muster it because it feels like she didn't do her part in preventing the illness in the first place. So, am I the idiot for lacking sympathy and being frustrated with my wife for not taking preventive measures? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm rolling my eyes at the, if I get sick, the entire family dynamic is disrupted. I assume you have sick days you can make use of. You know who doesn't? Your wife. She doesn't get to hide away from the kids in an office and avoid everyone. She's making sure everyone is fed, medicated, has tissues, cleans vomit, and is comforted. And then just when everyone else is feeling better, she probably gets sick herself. And her own husband, instead of thanking her for caring for her sick family, is annoyed that she's sick. You're the idiot, and you need to get over yourself. You may be the provider financially, but the person holding your family together is your wife. The family dynamic exists because of her unpaid work. Unless there is a health issue, someone is immune compromised, kids don't need their parents wearing a mask and avoiding them when they're sick. Your house isn't an ICU. They need parents to comfort them, and that involves close contact. At least your kids know one of you cares enough about them to do that. Comment 2. OP, I asked my pediatrician the first time I got sick when my kid was 5 months old what I should do to avoid passing it on. He told me I would need to find a way to not touch my kid, not breathe within 15 feet of my kid, make myself not sneeze or cough, wash my hands if I even thought I touched an eye/nose/mouth, and pray. Then he told me that, unfortunately, this is part of life, and that his actual recommendation was for hubby and I to take something like emergency, airborne, zinc, etc., and try to keep good habits, wash hands, etc., to avoid the initial illness. Then we had the first year of daycare and then COVID. Yeah. Unless you plan for her to sanitize the house top to bottom daily, in addition to wearing a mask and minimizing contact with the sick child, note, sarcasm, I would recommend apologizing and taking an immune system booster of some sort to help prevent spreading things. ETA, you're the idiot. Comment 3. One of the things that has helped our family is sanitizing high-touch items and surfaces. We all walk around with Lysol wipes or a bucket of any kind of sanitizing cleaner, and we wipe off the doorknobs, the chair arms, faucet handles, and so on. A lot of respiratory viruses are passed along by touching surfaces. Except for infection 19 and measles, you probably don't benefit so much from masking when you're out of arm's reach. A mask does help a lot when a kid is sneezing right on your face, of course. Also, it is actually possible to get many kids to be pretty good about hand washing. You'd be surprised. Other than that, I hear that you're stressed with trying to manage grad school and a full-time job. But probably you should spend more effort on being empathetic with your wife and her caring for your sick kids. Sympathy would be a better look on a partner who is a team player. Now, for the update. Okay, so 2 weeks later and things have taken a wild turn. First off, my wife came down with a pretty nasty cold. Despite my previous frustration, I still took care of her and the kids, trying to juggle my job and my studies at the same time. It was a lot. However, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, my boss called me into his office and dropped a bombshell on me. They were cutting back on staff, and I was one of the unfortunate ones to get the chop. It was a serious blow, especially with my wife being sick and unable to work. Suddenly, the pressure to provide for my family and stay on top of my studies became overwhelming. I must admit, I was angry at my wife. I felt like if she had just taken some precautions, she wouldn't have gotten sick, and maybe, just maybe, I wouldn't have lost my job because I could have been more focused. I know it's not entirely fair to blame her for that, and I didn't say anything out loud, but the resentment was there. Then everything took a surprising turn. A few days later, my wife called me into the living room. She looked nervous, which was unusual for her. Then she confessed that she had seen my struggle and felt guilty about her part in it. So, she told me, she had taken her health into her own hands. She had actually been applying for jobs behind my back and had secured a position. It was part-time, remote work that she could do even when the kids were home, and it paid well enough to help us manage whilst I looked for another job and finished my master's. I was floored. I had been so wrapped up in my own resentment and frustration that I hadn't recognized her efforts. After thanking her and apologizing for my recent behavior, I realized how narrow-minded I had been. We're a team, and sometimes one of us will fall, but the other will pick up the slack. If there's a lesson in all this, it's that communication is key. We both let our frustrations fester without talking about them, and I let my assumptions about my wife's behavior cloud my judgment. So, I guess, sometimes life throws you a curveball to make you see things from a different perspective. Now, for the comments. 1. Not the idiot. You were dealing with a lot, and it's only human to react the way you did initially. However, it's good that you realized your mistake and apologized to your wife. It's not her fault she fell ill, and she certainly didn't cause your job loss. The lesson here is to communicate better and not jump to conclusions. 2. You're the idiot, but only slightly. It's understandable that you were stressed, but it's not fair to blame your wife for getting sick. Everyone falls ill sometimes, and it's nobody's fault. It's great that she managed to secure a job despite being sick. She really stepped up for your family. But remember, it's important to be a team and support each other through tough times. 3. Everyone sucks here. You for blaming your wife for her illness and potentially causing your job loss. Your wife also shares a part of the blame for not communicating her job search with you. The secrecy added additional stress to an already tense situation. However, it's good that both of you saw your mistakes and have taken steps to improve communication in the future. Now, for the next story. So I moved out of my country to the neighboring country, and this was the first time my family came to visit. It was my 2 sisters, my nephew, my 18-year-old brother, and mother. I was so happy that they all came to visit for the first time because we never have visitors. I paid for everything and gave them top-notch hospitality. My mom told me she wanted an electric juicer to take back home with her, but she has this mentality that I have a lot of money, which is not true. I am just frugal, and I spend wisely, something she's not used to. My sisters and I normally help her out to pay bills and give her money for upkeep. We were in the store and I showed her a juicer that's within my budget. She looked at me and said that is cheap, that she doesn't want that one, and kept looking at the expensive ones. We went to another store to see if we could find what she wants that's within my budget, but after going to the store, we didn't end up getting the juicer. I could see that she was upset about that. Fast forward to later that night. My sisters and I were sitting in the living room talking, and my brother came out to give one of my sisters a foot massage because she's pregnant and her feet are swollen. So I said, "Okay, I'll go and take a bath." When entering the bathroom, the color yellow captured my eyes on the toilet seat, and I noticed that the floor was wet as well. I then realized that it was pee. It literally looked like a public bathroom all messed up, or someone intentionally peed all over the toilet. I was calm about the situation. I still took a shower, and I went back to the living room and asked my brother if he recently used the bathroom. He told me no. Now note that just before he came to give my pregnant sister a massage, I saw him walk out of the bathroom last, so I know it was him. Just to make sure, I yelled for my husband and asked him in front of everybody if it was him. He said no. I then asked my 10-year-old nephew. He said he hasn't been in the bathroom, so the only culprit is my 18-year-old brother. I told him to clean it up, and he kept on denying it was him. He then got up and went into the bathroom and literally came out 2 seconds later, so I know the bathroom isn't clean to my expectation. So I kept on asking him to please do a better job. Note that my husband is the one that does most of the cleaning around the house, and he has no problem doing so. Most of the time, I don't have to lift a finger, and I let my family know that he's a great husband for doing that. My husband cleans up after them after a meal, and they respectfully thank him, and he loves it. But my brother took that as a weapon against me. During our little argument over the toilet, he told me, "Why am I worrying because I don't do the cleaning anyway? My husband will do it, so I should just leave the situation alone." Now I took that as an insult towards my husband, and we had an even bigger argument. My mom was sleeping, and she was woken up by the commotion. My brother stormed into the guest bedroom where my mother was, and my mother immediately closed the door behind him, leaving me, my sisters, my husband, and nephew outside the door, banging to have her open it and let us in. My brother was shouting and cursing and even making threats. My mom was crying because we kept on banging on the door for her to let us in, and she didn't. But my eldest sister assumed that my brother may have said something while she was barricading the door, as if he said if she opens it, he was gonna unalive us all. So now, when the door was finally opened, I told them I just wanted to talk. My brother started to advance towards me as if he wanted to hit me, but then my mom pulled him outside and tried to calm him down. After a while, my sister, husband, and I had a little meeting in another room, and we all decided to stay at a hotel that night and leave my mom and brother at my house. We told them to just leave in the morning, which they did, and my mom was on my brother's side the entire time, as if we were the problem and her son did nothing wrong. Because fast forward to a week later, she told me that I was stupid to start that argument over stupid pee on the toilet that I should have just cleaned up. So am I the idiot for cutting them off because of that? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If they come around and apologize for the incident, then you can all move forward. If not, however, then by all means cut them off. 1. Your brother's aggressiveness is concerning. You don't ever want to be in a situation where he could physically harm you. 2. Your mom's willingness to overlook how inappropriate your brother's behavior speaks volume. Very unethical. 3. Your mom sounds super entitled and ungrateful. The whole juicer situation and her telling you that you should have just cleaned up your brother's piss says a lot about her character. She's clearly babied your brother his whole life. It's no wonder he is the way he is. 4. Brother's attitude of having you and your husband clean up after him without a speck of remorse just shows that he is willing to disrespect you in your own home, which you opened up to him. Not the idiot, in my opinion. Comment 2. I wouldn't have trusted them alone in my home, TBH. The brother is volatile enough that he could have destroyed all your stuff, especially since he, basically, said, "Piss on your life," with his bathroom stunt. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Your brother is old enough to know how to pee in the toilet and should clean up whatever mess he made. If he and your mother cannot respect your home, then they should not be permitted to visit. Now, for the update. So, it's been a month since the pee fiasco, and things have spiraled even further out of control, if you can believe it. I got a call from my neighbor who was concerned about the noise coming from my house. He said there were loud arguments, and one night, he saw my mother and brother dragging a large object out of the house and loading it into a truck. Confused, I went over to check it out, only to discover that they had sold my dining room set. Yes, you read that right. They sold it because they thought it was too ugly. Not only that, but they had also turned my living room into a makeshift juicery. There were fruit peels and pulp all over the place. They had bought the expensive juicer my mother wanted, using my credit card without my permission. I was livid, but they defended their actions, saying it was a necessary business expense for their new juicing business. The juicer wasn't the only thing they had purchased. My bank statements showed a series of charges for things like a treadmill, hundreds of dollars of groceries, and a new laptop for administrative purposes, they said. My brother, who had never shown any interest in physical fitness before, was now obsessed with becoming a fitness influencer. He had been using my treadmill to film workout videos in my living room, shirtless. I was already struggling to process all of this when I saw the state of my master bedroom. They had decided that my bed was too firm and had swapped it out with my guest bedroom mattress. My once pristine white sheets were stained with who knows what, and the room smelled like a gym locker room, courtesy of my brother's new workout routine. As if all this wasn't enough, they had also invited some of their friends to join them. Imagine my surprise when I returned one day to find 3 strangers lounging in my living room, chugging freshly made juice and watching my 65-inch TV like they owned the place. I was beyond furious. I called the police and got them all evicted. The house was a mess. It took me days to clean up, and I'm still finding dried fruit pulp in random places. My mother and brother still haven't apologized and even had the audacity to ask me for money to pay for their hotel. I blocked them and haven't spoken to them since. I'm now saddled with a massive credit card bill and a looming sense of regret about the whole situation. I guess this is just another reminder that no good deed goes unpunished. Now, for the comments. 1. Not the idiot. Your home, your rules. If they can't respect your boundaries and personal property, they've got no right to be upset when you take action. It's one thing to be helping family, but entirely different when they're using your generosity to exploit you. You had every right to call the police and protect your home. 2. Not the idiot. Your trust was betrayed and your personal space was violated. It's not just about the material possessions, but also about the fact that they went behind your back and showed no remorse. Cutting off contact is a valid response when your mental and financial health is at risk. 3. Not the idiot. Family or not, what they did was illegal and unethical. You are not obligated to endure financial hardship and discomfort in your own home because of their actions. Evicting them and cutting ties might be harsh, but it seems necessary for your peace of mind and financial stability. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.